Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the comprehensive overview of the omnibus package and all the risks and opportunities. In the coming minutes, I would like to focus on how companies can take quick steps. And although the omnibus package is around us and it's pretty much happening, how can companies still create a competitive advantage? Before I dive deeper, let me quickly summarize once again the omnibus package. We're talking about softening regulatory pressure here. So as Camila and Gabor already mentioned, we can talk about the fact that only large companies with more than 1,000 employees must report from 2025, which of course reduces the burden on smaller firms, especially the family-owned ones, and the non-listed small and medium-sized firms. The CS3D, the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, is also easing because from now on, for the time being, due diligence should focus mainly on the direct suppliers and the key partners. And between the transition periods, there is a longer transition period. So this allows companies to have more time, and of course, they will have fewer administrative obligations because the omnibus package is all about that. The EU taxonomy regulation is also simplified. Companies should report fewer indicators. In our previous webinar, we also briefly talked about the taxonomy regulation. So if you're interested in that, you can also view that if you've been a participant. But the main thing here is that fewer indicators are to be reported, and the reporting templates are also simplified. So it's still a useful information for green investors, but for the companies, it's easier to implement internally. Data reporting, of course, is less granular. There, as Camila mentioned, 70% decrease in what data points the companies should report on. And of course, the omnibus package allows companies to focus their efforts so they can skip certain data disclosures and focus really on the core essence of sustainability. So what matters to them and what matters to their industry peers and the industry based on benchmarks. And yes, all in all, we can talk about a delayed timeline. So many companies are only starting to report in 2026 or even later, which means that there's an extra time this year for sure for everyone to like fine tune how they collect ESG data and how they communicate their sustainability efforts. But if we go one slide further, our main message today is that even if you're not in scope because of the omnibus package, there are certain stakeholders, for example, your partners, banks, and even the EU that might ask you for compliance or certain data points. The first such thing is supply chains. So because of the fact that the CSRD is delayed, only large companies will most likely report for the time being, but they also undergo certain audits and they are in a competition for sustainability labels, for example, which do not directly contribute to CSRD compliance. But if they are in a process of undergoing certain audits, they're most likely asking you as well, if you're a smaller supplier, to provide them certain sustainability data. So it means that partners face an increased scrutiny on how their suppliers operate. And even though you are not a direct supplier or a key partner for them, they still might ask you for some data. The second important entity or case when you might be required to provide sustainability data is bank loans. So for bigger bank loans, banks will require companies to submit ESG reports. It's also happening in Hungary. It's also happening in the whole of the EU that those who ask for credit are required to submit ESG reports and certain sustainability indicators when they apply for bank loans. We have seen several cases. It can be important if you provide sustainability data for your creditworthiness evaluation, or we have also seen cases where if your sustainability performance is very good, you can have certain discounts in interest rates. Because at the end of the day, banks are looking for those companies in their portfolio for credit placements that have a really good track record in sustainability. So these are two important entities and cases. And the last one is actually EU grants. So we have seen, for example, with the Economic Development and Innovation Operative Program, that the EU requires financial sustainability metrics and plans. They also require you to disclose certain climate risk mitigation plans, e.g. for infrastructure projects, which is a whole different type of EU grant. But the main thing here is that if your project, what you want the grant for is Green Deal aligned and aligned with the taxonomy, they might have a higher chance of acceptance. So once again, the three instances is that the supply chain effect ripples down on you if you are a small supplier. If you want to apply for a bank loan, the bank might ask you for a sustainability report or ESG strategy or certain indicators. And also for EU grants, it is also important. So these are the three cases. If you move forward, um, although the omnibus package is pretty much around the corner, by the FROG, there is the VSME standard in development, which is the voluntary SME reporting standards in connection with sustainability. So with the omnibus package, SMEs are relieved, we can say that. But in order for them to make the transition smoother when the time comes to report in line with CSRD requirements, there is the VSME standard being developed, which is a simplified and CSRD aligned reporting format. The structure looks like it has a basic module. It has 11 elements, which really focuses on the core sustainability metrics. For example, greenhouse gas emissions, water, workforce. So really the basic ESG metrics, which you can adhere to. And there is a comprehensive module, which is even more voluntary than the basic one, which will include advanced metrics, for example, ESG metrics connected to business models, a risk mitigation plan, revenues from certain sectors. The main thing here is that if you are an SME and you want to give yourself a chance to meet the growing expectations of banks, larger buyers, or public procurement tenders, the VSME standard and aligning to these standards give you a good opportunity to save you some future headaches when the time comes for you to report under CSRD and to align with the ESRS data points. And on the last slide I want to present in my short block is some quick steps that you can take and how you can take the first steps in 2025, despite the fact that the omnibus package has happened. So first, we recommend you to approach and understand the ESRS and the CSRD frameworks. So the ESRS has some cross-cutting standards, which are not really focusing on ESG, but it has ESG matters as well. So we recommend you to look at them, try to understand them, and also focus on the materiality-based approach, to which there are very good guidelines with the Global Reporting Initiative and also some sector-specific benchmarks. So if you're not sure about double materiality and what financial and impact material topics might be relevant for your company, there are very good guidelines that you can browse and you can find all over at the GRI webpage. So the second one we would like to recommend you is to try to align and try to map up your internal processes, because most likely there are some ESRS disclosure requirements that might already exist in your processes and data systems. Actually, many elements already exist in HR, finance, if you've been through an audit process. What we recommend is start assigning clear ownership to who will collect the data on ESG, how it will be built in your communication, your governance, and also to assess the internal systems and whether your IT systems are ready for vast data collection, and whether you have softwares, the right digital toolkit for ESG and collecting and communicating data. And some further quick steps that you can take. In our previous webinar, we have already focused on the EU Taxonomy Compass and the Calculator, which are free tools that you can start your compliance journey with. Also, we recommend you to conduct a double materiality assessment workshop with your key stakeholders. I would like to quickly highlight our next webinar, which will take place on June 12th. And we are going to focus on how to engage with your key stakeholders and how to communicate with them. And it will also have a governance and change management aspect. So we expect all of you to be there as well, not just today. And some further quick wins. You can browse some CSRD reports that have been published by your competitors, your other peers. So kind of getting the hang of how companies communicate that are already complying with CSRD. And of course, you can always consider external advisory support in case you get lost with complying with CSRD and starting your sustainability journey. Thank you very much.